Hello everyone, and welcome to this video on Venus's transit through Chitra Nakshatra, which is going to start on the 25th of October and will continue through until the 6th of November 2017. Let's talk a little bit today about struggle. Now, is struggle senseless? Well, I guess on one level it is. But the level that struggle is senseless is the level on which we continue to choose to struggle, right? And I can hear what you're saying or hear what you're thinking, which is, well, there's difficulty in my life. What choice do I have but to struggle? Well, you've got all the choice in the world. It's all how you see the situation, all how you look at the situation, all a matter of whether you're accepting of the situation that you're dealing with, and equally also a matter of whether you're becoming too emotionally, too mentally attached to the stress that you might be experiencing in regard to the challenges that you're facing. That's a lot, isn't it? And even just thinking about all that stuff, that seems like a challenge in and of itself, right? But I guess what it boils down to is acceptance. Right? And granted, there are things in our life that we're not really willing to accept. And that's understandable, because we get faced with things in our life that force some, pretty difficult and harsh decisions upon us. And sometimes those decisions aren't easy to make, but we still find ourselves in a position where we have to make a decision, right? And sometimes there's only one decision we can make. And sometimes that specific decision that we have to make doesn't even really seem like it's an option. But sometimes it has to be an option. So why am I going into all of this, right? Well, a good way to begin our discussion in association with this would be to understand some of the symbolism behind Chitra Nakshatra, okay? Chitra Nakshatra is associated with one of the brightest stars in the sky. And so Chitra Nakshatra has this alluring quality to it. It makes us see things in a certain way, and we see something as being alluring, and it pulls us in that particular direction. So for instance, we may have a particular idea, especially a particular philosophy, because with Chitra Nakshatra, philosophies, ideas, ethics, they all play a key role. But what usually ends up happening is we get allured in a certain direction. We get pulled into a certain method of thinking, right? And often what happens is that method of thinking doesn't produce the desired results. Right? So for instance, we might see things one way. We might go, okay, well, as long as I continue to put forward a lot of effort towards, making money, then things are going to end up working out fine, and that will happen. And we have this attitude, and that attitude works for us for a while until come those 6 or 7 times in a row that it's not working anymore. And at those times, we can just continue to struggle. And sure, maybe eventually we'll have a breakthrough. Or we can also go, well, what can I really learn from this? Maybe the way that I'm seeing things is not the ultimate way at all. And that's more along the lines of what Chitra is about. So why the energy of Chitra? Why is that energy of Chitra there? Well, because we don't know the truth. We don't know the truth. We only have concepts of the truth. And our concepts of the truth only cover a minute part of what the actual truth is. So we go through Chitra Nakshatra experiences to prepare ourselves eventually for the ultimate truth. But in order for that to happen, we have to be willing to relinquish the ego, right? So somewhere in one area of your life, you might be experiencing a lot of tension right now. And that particular tension that you're facing may be making you feel a little bit disheartened. because that's also another quality that begins to come into the equation with Chitra Nakshatra. When our ethics, when our ideas, when our beliefs take us into a certain direction, and then something happens that makes it so that it begins to feel like all the things that we have believed in before, the foundation of our paradigm or our set of beliefs just kind of comes crashing down, and nothing ultimately seems to be the same. Well, we get a little bit disheartened by that, as it's only natural to do, right? But then we stand a lot of potential. You see, a situation is all what you make of it. You can either see yourself as being at the mercy or whim of fate, or you can go, you know what? I just need to accept this set of circumstances, learn from it, take a look at things in a completely different manner, and see what I need to do to shift things in another direction. And that's often what is being asked. Our path is ever evolving. We're always going through transformations. If we're a person who's committed to growth, we're always finding different ways of looking at things, new ways of understanding what's going on in our life. And whilst Venus is the planet that can teach us how to live an enjoyable life, how to receive pleasure in life, how to make wise choices within the material plane that impact our life, all of those things are associated with Venus. So you might be finding some of the choices that you've been making, they haven't been taking you in the right direction. You might be feeling that you had a certain way of looking at the relationships in your life, or a certain way of looking at your relationship partner, and ultimately things are changing and going through a transformation in association with that. Now, for a good part of this particular transit, Mercury will also be transiting through Vishaka Nakshatra, and that's going to be going on from like the 25th to the 3rd. And so while this is happening, Vishaka Nakshatra has this tendency to go through things, especially in association with the situation we're talking about. Let's apply it to the matter at hand. A transformation takes place within Vishaka Nakshatra. Ultimately, if we go through that experience wisely, we allow ourselves to be molded by what's going on. To people outside of ourselves, it may seem like we're not, being steady or steadfast or committed to a certain direction. But in actuality, what's going on is the individual is going through a particular state of review and redefinition in terms of determining what they need to adjust and where they need to take things. So most especially between the 25th and the 3rd, you're probably finding yourself going through a period of adjustment. By the time you reach the 1st of November, things are going to become a little more solid. Between the 25th and the 1st, things are going to be very transitional. That's probably the period where you're beginning to feel most like your foundation is kind of shifting, and that may feel a little bit uneasy, but by the time you get to the 1st, things are going to begin to feel a little more solid, and a new direction is going to make itself apparent, at least for the moment at hand, because life is constantly about adjustment. So if you're going through a lot of transition right now, try to understand what you might be being asked to shift or to change in your life. What way of looking at things are you perhaps being asked to relinquish? What way of looking at things are you perhaps being asked to embrace? It's like in the phrase of that old song, there's always time to change the road you're on. And with Chitra Nakshatra, it really is a matter of recognizing, wait a second, this isn't working. Stop, reevaluate, turn things around, consolidate, and move forward again. And that's most likely the process that you're going to be dealing with between the 25th and the 6th of November. But, if it feels a little bit difficult and if it feels a little bit challenging, do trust that it's going to get better after the 1st. We're dealing with, about, I would say, a good, 7 days of transitional type energy. But if you're alerted as to what it's all about, it doesn't have to be that difficult for you at all. It's all a matter of how you approach it. Do you want to struggle? Then don't, right? If you don't want to struggle, then don't. Accept what needs to happen, make the necessary decisions, and be ready to be committed to move forward. If you'd like a little bit of help with understanding how this particular transit is going to affect your personal horoscope, I do offer several different levels of astrological service that are available through the astrological services page of my website. You should see a link in the video at some point to one side or the other that will take you to my astrological services page. And whilst you're on the website, please do check out my approaching courses that start in March. If you register for either of those courses by early December, you'll get a 15% discount on the course. That's going to do it for this look at Venus's transit through Chitra Nakshatra for the 25th of October to the 6th of November. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.